Writing a thesis on urban legends, a researcher pursues the modern mythology of a killer with a hook for a hand in Chicago's North Side housing projects. She soon finds herself in the embrace of the legend, tormented and abandoned by everyone after a series of horrors inexplicably leave blood as thick as honey on her own hands, while the rumbling voice of the shadowy legend coaxes her to carry out his evil deeds. Are you lonesome tonight? The legend says that if you say his name 5 times in the mirror, the killer will appear. His name is Candyman. Clive Barker had become one of the foremost names in horror after films like Hellraiser and Nightbreed, based on a short story called The Forbidden that originally appeared in Clive Barker's Books of Blood, Volume 5. Candyman, directed by Bernard Rose, relocates the tale from Liverpool to Chicago. The lovely Virginia Madsen stars as graduate student Helen Lyle, whose husband Trevor, Xander Berkeley, is a college professor who begins an urban legends lecture despite Helen's insistence on letting her and her friend Bernadette, played by Casey Lemons, finish their urban legends thesis. Eager to outdo Trevor and his friend Professor Philip Purcell, Helen investigates Cabrini Green's mysterious Candyman slayings. It's here she finds herself in a place where the frightening myths and blood-stained reality collide. Taunting Helen and Bernadette at a dinner, Benjamin Franklin, it's Purcell, explains the origins of Candyman. The legend begins in 1890. Candyman was a talented artist who was commissioned by a wealthy landowner to do a portrait of his daughter. However, Candyman painted her with more than just his paintbrush, if you know what I mean, and she became pregnant.
They chased Candyman through the town to Cabrini Green, where they proceeded to saw off his right hand with a rusty blade.
While doing more research and photography at Cabrini Green, Helen has the misfortune of being confronted by the boys in the hood.
I hear you looking for Candyman, bitch. Well, you found him.
Identifying her attacker in a police lineup, Helen thinks that she had gotten to the chewy center of this urban myth and can finally put the Candyman legend to rest. Instead, she discovers Candyman is not someone who can simply be locked behind bars. Helen begins to find herself soaked in blood and clutching the instrument of death at the scenes of massacres and the abduction of a baby boy from Cabrini Green. Trapped in the Candyman's blistering swarm of terrors, Helen helplessly struggles for her innocence, sanity, and her freedom as everyone, including Trevor, cast her away. Ultimately, the only one she has now is the sadistic, bloodthirsty Candyman. And in confronting the nightmarish legend's courtship, she will find the only thing he ever had was her. Candyman is a movie that rises far above par for the horror genre. In the 80s and 90s, Clive Barker became an icon of horror with dozens of imaginative horror stories like Candyman's source material, and his work was adapted to film with mixed results. One of the best efforts prior to Candyman being Barker's own adaptation of his novella, The Hellbound Heart, where the only shortcoming was the budget. Here in Candyman, director Bernard Rose and an excellent cast, including Tony Todd as Candyman himself, give Barker's imagination the respect and dedication it deserved, and the very polished production leaves very little that could have been done better. From the first bar of a timeless fan-favorite film score by Philip Glass, Candyman strives to deliver a great movie, and all the way through the very end credits, it succeeds in being a very good modern horror story on film. I give Candyman 4.5 hooks out of 5. Sweets to the sweet.
You're mine now.